What's up, y'all? My name is Derrick Ashong, also known as DNA, or at least that's what my friends and my bandmates call me. I am filming this in response to the piece that was uploaded on YouTube from an interview I did outside of the Obama-Clinton debate a couple of weeks ago. And I think it hit the web last week, and I've been getting tons and tons of feedback. Emails, Facebook, phone calls, the whole nine. And it's been beautiful. I mean, I want to go over a couple of things though. First, I got to thank all of you who've given the mad positive feedback on the issues that we've been discussing on our candidate Barack Obama, as well as on the way that I articulated some of those things. I also want to thank Mike, who did that interview, who I did not know beforehand, but who has obviously managed to get a lot of people talking about things that I think we all care about. I want to do three things real quick. One is to answer some questions around what actually went down that day. Two, to give a little bit of background based on where I'm coming from. And three, to tell you a little bit about why I feel like this stuff is important, why we're supporting this particular candidate. So first, a friend of mine, Charnel, and I, we went to the debate, and we were standing there with our cool sign, Si se puede. And basically a gentleman came up to us and asked, you know, why do you support Mr. Obama? And I started to give my standard response, and he was like, well, penetrating questions. And I had to get a little deeper into it, which wound up being a blessing because it was an opportunity to really get into why I think this is the right candidate for the right time, and specifically around one particular issue. Now, I've seen a lot of quotes that have been like, oh my God, this kid is so articulate and he's so bright, and oh my God, he speaks so well. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. My mom appreciated it too, even though she was pissed about me chewing that gum. But to be all honesty, like, I do tons of performance and public speaking all the time, so I am not easily rattled under camera. I want to make it clear that the Obama campaign did not stage that interview. Neither did I nor Mike know that we were going to meet each other. That's the first and only time that I've seen the gentleman, and I spoke from my soul about what I believe, because I think that every citizen and every voter should be willing and hopefully able to do that if we look around and, you know, educate ourselves as best we can about what's at stake. To give you a little more perspective on where I'm coming from and why I see this stuff as important, I was not born here in the United States. I was born in West Africa. I'm an immigrant, right? I became a naturalized citizen only this, 21st century. And where I was born, even though we're a proud nation, first sub-Saharan African nation to become independent, father of Pan-Africanism, Kwame Nkrumah founded our country, we've had a lot of political strife. And sadly, the entire span of my life, up until I was in my early 20s, we couldn't vote. Nobody could vote. I moved to Brooklyn, New York when I was a little kid, and I stayed in Flatbush with my family. And we basically were there because, one, my dad was pursuing further studies in public health. But secondly, when we were getting ready to go back home, there had been another coup, which means the military had taken over our government, so we couldn't go. We moved to the Middle East instead, and I grew up in Saudi Arabia and Qatar. Qatar is the home of Al Jazeera and CENTCOM. Also, not exactly a democracy. So the first time I ever had a chance to cast a vote in my entire life was in the 2000 election. Now, how is that relevant to all of this right now? Part of the reason why I'm so excited about Obama's campaign, and I'm going to speak to the emotional stuff this time that I didn't get to talk about in the last interview. It's okay. Now you know I got the intellect. Let me speak from my heart for a minute. One of the things that has struck me so much is I've been here in this country for years now, so actively involved and running around with politics and rah-rah-rah and campaign finance reform and this and that and hip-hop youth political movements and yada, 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 yada. All around the sense of, oh my God, we've got this freedom, we should use it, we should be heard. And yet I've seen a lot of my peers have not always been so engaged. And I can kind of understand why, because oftentimes we have political leaders who don't really seem to represent our interests and our belief and don't seem to be truly authentic. And so maybe you've got the right to vote, but do you really want to exercise it? I mean, what are your options, right? But for someone like me, when I grew up, and my parents grew up, and my cousins and all these children grew up, we went from 1964, when our first president was deposed, to the year 2000 without a proper democratic and peaceful election. I mean, for us, it's a blessing. And that's why I'm politically engaged, and that's why I'm politically informed. because I see that it's an opportunity that doesn't come to everyone, and that didn't come to me for a long time. I also feel that because of that, when I look out at the American political ethos right now, and I see a candidate who can inspire Democrats and Republicans and independents and old people and young people and people of all races and ethnicities and genders to believe that they can be a part of making this a better country. And I'm sorry guys, I'm not talking about Ron Paul here. I'm talking about Barack Obama. When I see that and I see the response that so many of us are having, it gives me as an immigrant, as an American, such a feeling of joy and indeed of hope that things can be different, that my kids will not have to grow up with the same degree of political disenfranchisement that I did. I'm a musician. I run a band, it's called Soulfish, and we started a movement called Take Back the Mic. And the idea of that whole movement is, at this stage in the game, I don't need anybody to tell me who I am. I don't have to wait for the mainstream media. I don't have to wait for MTV or BET to tell me how I need to be. We've got the technology, we've got the knowledge, and we've got the will to represent ourselves. So for me, I think that artistically, we need to take back the mic. I think that socially, we need to take back the mic. I think economically, we need to have self-determination, take back the mic. And politically, in 2008, we are definitely taking back the mic with a candidate who means something more than partisanship, something more than self-interest, something more than lobbying. A candidate who represents the possibility that the American dream could be proven a reality. And not just for us in this country, but for people around the world. And that is why I'm supporting Barack Obama. And I hope that you guys will join me in this. And for those of you who are undecided, I think we have a chance to make history, but not in the way that the pundits are talking about. It's not about a black man, it's not about a white woman. It's about bringing a country together to fulfill the true power of its potential. As an immigrant, as an American, I am proud to be a part of that change. And I do believe that, yes, we can. Don't sleep.